Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Resource Floating with Ben,
Yo,
Kayla,
Hello.
and I am apparently the reason we're not doing a Smash or Pass video that everyone else wants. But I'm the 86.
it'll
The
happen.
the other person with us is not here because they have Scarlet Rot. So
I exercised my house and the demons are gone.
this. Well, it's funny that you should mention that because today we're going to talk about Viserai,
Mm.
Ooh.
which is kind of maybe along that train, maybe not. Give us some Viserai facts. Spill all the
Viserai
deets.
fact. Viserai is a young hero and an old hero from Arcane Rising. He is the first rune blade to exist. He has 4 intellect and 20 and 40 health respectively. And he was the first to undertake the gruesome experiments done by Lord Sutcliffe, who we've yet to see in the lore of Flesh and Blood. But he turned Viserai into what is known as an Arc Knight. So he's a spooky boy.
Arc Knights are the flesh and blood version of the Krampus. If you're bad at
Yep.
Christmas, they'll come in.
That's what they are?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
I made that up.
I was thinking more of like the Dark Knights from Zelda,
The Dark Knight.
maybe.
I was going like Jedi Sith angle, but I have no idea.
Jedi Sith angle is a much better angle. Let's go that way.
So,
All right.
you're saying Viserai is a Sith.
Yeah.
He
Is he evil? I don't know if that's is he?
Yeah.
Specific, probably like Darth Vader, since he was the first.
Okay. I'm completely lost on lore, so
Would you say he's evil, or would you say that he is, from his point of view, maybe the Jedi are evil?
from a certain point of view.
Are we talking about Viserai still or someone else?
Okay, never mind. So Viserai, fun keyword. Whenever you play a Rune Blade card, if you've played another non-attack action card this turn, create a Rune Chant token. So
Yep.
what's really interesting about that is those Rune Chants keep on coming.
They add up very quickly and they don't stop coming.
And they don't stop coming.
And they do
don't
not.
stop coming.
Dumb things can happen.
It's really hard to talk about a lot of Viserai and a lot of Runeblade stuff. So going in, we'll start here. Building the Viserai. I would say that a majority of my Viserai deck is probably red. I have a few blues and some yellows. They're non-attack actions. A lot of your big attacks are reduced by the number of rune chants you have. You may also be in a position where you just want to pitch the cards to make a rune chant and get them out of your hand because it's not going to flow with what you have. But building Viserai, for me, he's very red yellow focused. I don't have too many blues that I worried about. I mean, they're there.
And he's generally a low curve hero. Like a lot of his attacks are 1, 2 in some cases, and then most of his big attacks are reduced by rune chants. So
Yeah.
you get away with a lot of reds. But I mean, there are blues you run right now. I mean, Become the Arc Knight is a staple, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Which it just comes.
Mauvrian's-
So.
Mauvrian Skies and a lot of decks. What is it? The Everfest card, Shrill of Skullform.
Drill of Skullform, which gets like +2 if you've made an aura for the turn. If
It's
I'm
a
reading-
reliably.
It's
It's-
plus something if
I
you've
thought it
played an
was
aura.
plus
If you've played an
3.
aura.
I think it's base 2 plus 3 if you've created an aura, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it. Well, yeah, I think the blue is
Oh, the
2.
red's I was gonna
So, I
say
mean-
the blues. The blues may be 2, but the red is crazy.
Oh yeah, no, but the thing is, the blue is great for blue pitch. It blocks 3, I'm pretty confident, and it's a blue that for 2 does 5 damage reliably, so it's a pretty good card.
Yeah, 4 plus 3, 3 plus 3, and 2 plus 3. So
Yeah.
And what's interesting to note is how cards are resolved. If you're playing that card and you have another card out there, you get to choose how your abilities trigger. So the first thing you do, obviously, is trigger Viserai's ability. Well, I mean, yeah, because this would trigger before the card resolves anyway, so that's really a moot point. Sorry. We'll get back to that later. It'll be more important. However, when you play this card, you're going to make a rune chant. You're going to get that buff. Even if you're playing it and it's like, oh, it's going to make it on the back end. Well, yeah, you're not attacking with it this turn, but that rune chant is buffing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what's really disgusting about it.
He does have some, so like a 2 cost. That's really his big, heavy hitter. His other one is Runic Reclamation, which I think is really good for prisms. And go on.
It's a great sideboard card.
Yeah.
Now, like in Blitz, where you don't have the sideboard, it's probably a little slow into most matchups or unnecessary into most matchups. But I mean, against Prism, it's incredible. It's a 7 attack, so you pop things, and then it destroys auras.
The better one is just the Swarming Gloom Veil, because with Viserai, with how many auras he actually can make in a turn, you probably can get all of Swarming's key points to kick off, and you get all the buffs.
Swarming's the killer. Swarming's the absolute killer. Arguably the best Majestic in Neverfest.
Arguably the best card he has, period. And it's 0 cost.
I mean, Mordred Tide enables big turns.
Yeah. Well, Mordred Tide enables that because if you do so much, if they don't block it, they can't block arcane damage. There's about 1 million cards.
Actually, scarier than Swarming a lot of times is Revel in Runeblood, because that card's fair.
Yeah.
Make 4 rune chant tokens.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much make 5, because in order to play it at all, you have to have played an attack and a non-attack. So it's going to make 5 no matter what if you play it.
Yeah, because if you played a non-attack and then you play Revel, then you're getting 5 because of Viserai ability.
At least it's a high-cost card. You can't just play it down for 0. Oh, wait.
Oh, you'd think.
Wait, there's more.
Yeah.
There's more. Oh man, can that be Viserai's thing? Is just Billy Mays' body, and it's like, but wait, there's more rune chants.
That actually fits perfectly. I love it. It really just don't stop being generated. It's terrifying.
Yeah, and they even you can play there's the sort of aggro Viserai, which is I'm gonna make a few rune chants and then attack you to where it's coming at you both physically and arcane. Or I'm just going to block out everything, build up rune chants until I have 30, and then swing one big attack, and you can't block all of it, and you're dead.
And what's really interesting, this is the first hero that we're going to talk about that deals arcane damage.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I didn't think about that.
And arcane damage. Ben, tell us what arcane damage is.
Essentially, in the simplest of terms, it's burn damage straight to you. So rather than you being able to block it, you have to have specific defenses, which is most likely Arcane Barrier. There's other cards that just say, prevent damage and things like that.
Spell
but
Void.
Most of the time, it's going to be Arcane Barrier is how you deal with it. Something funny.
Boy, did something really funny.
But yeah. So Arcane damage is really fun. Is the long and short of that.
It is. By golly. Going in and talking about the arcane damage, the primary way he does this is through rune chants. And do one of you guys want to tell us what a rune chant is, what it does?
Okay. A rune chant is a aura token. It's just a cute little token. It looks like a little purple thing. You can have cards for it. I've seen people make little proxy tokens and put them out on the field when they make it. It's cute. But they're not cute when they come at you. But it's an aura that says when you attack with a weapon or with an attack action card, this aura will destroy itself and deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. So whether it be 1 or 5, those will all hit separately. So if you have 1 rune chant, it's going to come in for 1 arcane. If you have 5 rune chants, it's going to come in for 5 arcane, but in instances of 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Not as a group of 5. They don't accumulate. damage as like one entity. They come in as 5 separate little pings, which can get annoying, but it does make it easier to block.
Yep, and that is one of the things that makes Viserai pretty interesting is, well, rune blades in general, because they have the ability to do mixed damage. Like if you fight a Kano, who's probably one of the more interesting matchups for Viserai. If you fight a Kano, it's going to be all arcane. Like he may throw a surprise like Nourishing Emptiness in there, or something else, but you know what you're going to get into. With Viserai, you don't, and you can prepare for like, well, he's going to swing 13 arcane damage at me. Oh, and he's swinging 6 physical. Okay.
Yeah.
How do I deal with this?
Mixture. That's really like it's crazy good that you can do damage in 2 different directions and something will more than likely squeak by. And that's what makes them a little bit, in my opinion, too OP for metas.
They can be a bit oppressive.
Yeah. Hence why their stuff gets banned all the time.
They have been the center of some bannings.
I'm trying to think what. Give me a specific one that got banned.
Seeds of Agony for Chain.
Seeds of Agony.
I was thinking Viserai. I'm sorry.
Oh no, Viserai himself was
Viserai
not
hasn't been the
effective.
result of bans, because I think he's probably the most balanced rune blade, which is why I like him the most. Chain is a little bit more balanced, but he still has like those crazy just turns, which are stupid, like when he banishes 6 cards and can play all 6 of them for like 2 resources. And then Briar's just, after the errata, she's still pretty busted.
She's still good, but you can play into her now. She's actually beatable.
Yeah. But it's the fact that those 2, like Chain and Briar, had to be brought down to be dealt with. Viserai was balanced from the get-go.
These new cards, though,
he's been brought
are
up.
pretty strong.
I've been, instead of them coming to my level, I'm being lifted to the level of being banned.
I know. I mean, when the ban list was coming out, people were talking about Viserai a lot. Actually, a lot more than I thought they would.
Well, that's a topic for another time.
Yeah, it is.
I'll go back to, we talked about the rune chants, and you're gonna hear me say I'm really passionate about Viserai. Viserai was probably my first box was Crucible of War. Came in, I ordered some stuff from Game Nerds, and the first box the card I opened up had an Arcanite Shard. At the time was $600. I was like, sweet. And then when somebody I knew was like, oh, looks like you're a Viserai player. Lo and behold, he's a Viserai player. And he was back then. But I was told at that time, Viserai is not really good. You probably don't want to bother with him. But I made a Viserai deck, and I had it. I probably learned to play and not use that deck as much as I should have. But now everybody's like, oh, Viserai is really good. Viserai is doing this. He's scary. And I'm like, oh, I missed that train.
It is funny, when I first got into the game, the 2 heroes I really wanted to play were Katsu and Viserai, and that being said, I've barely played either of them after actually playing.
Never touched Katsu in a non-limited format.
I have not.
You've never built a ninja deck and showed up and you're like, I got Katsu. That's weird.
No.
I've built Ira, but that's the only ninja I've touched.
That was good.
I tried to build a...
Sorry, I derailed it. It was me. It was all me.
As usual.
Rune chants. So rune chants. What is really cool about those is, immediately when you play an attack action card, they go onto the chain, now known as a stack. Stack bound by darkness. Runeblade joke. Sorry.
Bad.
It was.
Bad.
So immediately those rune chants get moved to the stack. So there's an option for your opponent to respond. So that if you're fighting a Kano, that's probably when they're going to play that Scour from Arsenal. Is if you're sending 14 rune chants at them, they're going to be like, oh, okay, now I need to do something. But anyone else, that is a time for you to sit like, okay, if you're going to attack a prism, if you're going to attack an aura, those rune chants go off, and they deal with the arcane damage before they deal with physical damage. And I think the thing that makes Viserai scary is his ability isn't on making rune chants isn't once per turn. Like when you play 2 cards, it's like, okay, a non-attack and a rune blade, I make a rune chant, I'm done. It's if I did a big turn and I pulled off 8 cards, I'm gonna make a rune chant for 7 cards.
Yep.
Assuming they're all rune blade cards. And those big things can happen because of a special card that a lot of people don't like, but I love, except when it backfires, which is every time. And that is called Sonata Arcanix.
Oh yeah. That's the big one.
Yep.
I've seen games end with that card.
One way or the other.
I've seen my career end with that card, and just
Oh no.
play it, and then so it's worded. So I should get up the specific wording. Are you gonna hear me?
It's
Well,
a fun card.
It's Sonata combined with a specific equipment.
Yep. And
I mean,
I think Rune
it
Blade
makes it better, but
equipment
It
is a
makes
lot to talk about in
Easier and
general.
more fun.
Sorry. So Sonata Arcanix. Reveal the top X plus 3 cards of your deck, and the cost for it is XX. So with X, you're paying 2 of the same cost, so 2 and 2. So then X becomes 2 plus 3. Or you can play 5 plus 3, etc. For each non-attack action card revealed this way, you may put an attack action card revealed this way into your hand. Then deal arcane damage to target hero equal to the number of cards put into your hand this way. Shuffle your deck. Banish Sonata Arcanix. Go again.
yep. So just a casual, like, possibly draw 4 more cards, depending on how much you want to try to put into it.
Yep.
I think the most I've drawn. Yeah, I think the most I've drawn is 5.
I mean, it's not terribly hard.
In this case, with that card, it's not 5 ones. It's 5 total.
Which makes Arcane Barrier 1 nearly useless if they get a good Sonata off.
Yep.
And there are a lot of good cards that trigger off of arcane damage. So meet and greet. If you've dealt arcane damage that turn,
I was just thinking it.
as go again.
Yep.
So you put them in this position as like, well, I'm sending 5 arcane your way. You gonna block any of it? And they're like, oh, well, I know he put that into his hand because I saw him flip it over when Sonata came out. And then they have to decide, well, I can block all this now, but if I do, then I'm going to be less cards, and I'm not going to be able to block what else is coming. That's a fun card.
Yep. Sure is.
I love it.
That's the game ender.
It's a devastating card.
So the sad thing about Sonata Arcanix, I've flipped over 10 cards and had them all be non-attacks or attacks, and then nothing goes into your hand, and nothing happens except you go home sad. You just spent 10 resources, and now you are a sad, broken man, and you'll go home, cry in your pillow, but that's okay, because tomorrow you'll wake up and do it all over again.
I guess that does lead into an important point in Viserai is when you play Sonata Arcanix, which is you need to run like nearly 50-50 between non-attacks and attacks. So
Yeah.
that you hopefully hit your Sonata near every time.
And you need to make sure that you're not pitching like all of your attack actions, because if you're pitching and it's like sort of going towards the top, and by the time you do play that Sonata, if every attack that you've been pitching has now come to the top, you're just gonna whiff. So it's also like, I don't want to say it's counting cards, but you do need to be like, I've pitched like 3 attacks in a row. I should probably pitch a non-attack action.
I mean, if you're going for an OTK strategy, you might get the second cycle, depending on how defensive you're able to be until then. So
That's true. More aggro builds, you might not make it through the full deck.
if you're playing aggro with Viserai, you should not make it the second cycle.
So what's interesting, I think, right now the meta for Viserai is very aggro. Whether it's blitz or constructed. And I say that being that earlier that Kano is one of his interesting matchups. I think most people will agree that Viserai can out aggro Kano. That if Kano just does what he does and you keep on doing what you're doing, you're going to beat Kano. However, it's an interesting spot because Kano right now can do some surprise shenaniganry to where you really need to be on your toes. So that puts up an interesting position for the Viserai matchup. And I think that's one of his bigger counters, not counting the unnamed hero that is Guardian.
I mean, Guardians in general can deal with Viserai a little better just because they have so many blues to be able to deal with rune chance. So they have a better matchup, but it's still rough for everyone. Yeah, because the Dory matchup into Vis is tricky. You have so many reds that you have to be on the offense like all times to try to just out aggro him.
And Blitz has turned into a very aggressive game. And we can talk a little bit about the difference between a Blitz Viserai and a constructed Viserai. In Blitz, you're looking to really run down your opponent and probably be done within 5 turns.
You could realistically end a game in like 2 or 3 turns with Viserai if you just get those hands.
Yeah.
It's not unheard of.
Literally turn to the name Blitz. They are the fastest games I've ever played.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fun.
Constructed Viserai, he's going to build up. He's going to be overwhelming. And I don't want to say that he's a setup hero, but he can kind of be pivotal a little bit where he can set up. He can be mid-range. He can be aggro.
Yeah, he's maneuverable. He can see who he's playing against and be like, I'm going to take a few turns, let them sort of get their big attacks out, let them sort of wash through their good stuff, make a few rune chants here and there, maybe ping them a little bit. Because if they do like 2-3 damage a turn, the opposing hero is probably going to take it because they're going to be like, I'm going to push it. But then, like, when the Viserai gets that really good hand and they're like, oh, I could Sonata, probably get like 3 cards in hand, that's 3 arcane, then have like 6 cards for the turn, like, that could be it, man. Like, they just can flick of the switch and just be like, all right, here, gas to the pedal. Like, pedal to the floor is what I meant to say. Gas to the pedal.
Gas to the pedal.
That's how it works. Pedal to the floor, man. Like, Viserai will just be like, let's go.
But really, his greatest asset in CC is he's able to pivot into the OTK versus aggro strategy depending on his matchup. That's why he's just so good right now.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't think you're going to see him be is long-term very defensive. Short-term, I think you can see a defensive Viserai. I don't think you can see that long-term.
I would say his worst mashup might be like a really well-built Oldhim, just because of the amount of like defense reactions. Steadfast is now wonderfully built. Crown of Seeds can stop 1 damage, and then Oldhim has just the natural defense reaction himself. I would say he could do it, but the problem is then you probably are going to run out of time, because it's the thing Oldhim always does, is that he's the grandfather of timing out the game.
So we're not going to mention Starvo?
No, I'm not going to mention him. I don't want to talk about him.
Okay.
He doesn't exist as far as we're concerned. No, just kidding.
I like it.
Starvo doesn't defend. I'm not even going to say that it's like, oh, Starvo could defend. No, he's not going to.
No, I played one Sunday and the Starvo got off. It was like 2 Oaken Olds in a row and then 2 Crippling Crushes, and I was just like, okay, I can't do anything.
Good game.
Yep.
Dude, I'd start asking if people are stacking their decks. There's no way.
Yeah.
I've seen some shit.
Ben. Language. No, just kidding.
Language, Ben.
Gosh.
Spanish. French. What? How many languages do you want?
I've seen some Spanish.
¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
So,
Hamburguesa.
going into this, there are a ton of good Runeblade cards, and a lot of them are reduced. So there's Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath, which is 9 attack. It's reduced
For 9.
Yes, for 9, but it's reduced by every rune chain you have. And
Yeah,
if
so if
you're
it's
a
9,
Viserai
why?
player and you can't afford that,
Oh.
I don't know what you're doing wrong. There is a ton
Pretty
of
easy to get to 9.
yeah, and there's a ton of non-attack actions that you can also look at. So Mavrian Skies, which gives your next attack go again, and also if it hits, it creates rune chance based off of the color.
Yeah.
Mm.
Did you say Mordred Tide or Mavrian Skies?
Mavrian.
He said Mavrian.
Okay.
Mordred makes
Mordred's the one where if you make a rune chant, you make that many +1.
correct.
Yep.
And I think in my brain I heard you wrong, and I was like, I think that's the other one. I was like, no, I think he said Mavrian. I was like, I'm just gonna ask him so I don't feel like an idiot.
So
Mordred's
Mordred
incredible.
Tide is crazy with Viserai because you're going to make 2 rune chants based off of everything. And if you play something like Revel in Runeblood, okay, Viserai's ability trigger, so that's 2. And then you're going to make 4 plus 1. So all of a sudden you're making 7 rune chants just off that card.
With 1 card.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now, I mean, even just a Mordred into a Read the Runes, so it's 2 cards, no resources, and that's 6 rune chance.
Yep.
Can you insert that cat that goes hit right here because that's how I feel.
You know, Mordred is like the enabler for the big turns, other than Sonata. Both are very good.
And the fact that it's like you could do Mordred into a Mavrian, into something, and then you do. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna do a Sonata for fun, and then
So
I'm gonna
much
get 3 more cards in hand, and then I'm gonna do some more wacky things. Oh, and then guess what? At the end, Storming Gloomvale. Nah.
And then that's also key because you're doing a lot of non-attacks, and then you end up with an attack. So you need to realize when you go to that Sonata turn, look at your graveyard, see how many cards you just played, and like, oh, do I want to bet the farm on this Sonata, or do I just want to? You can play it for 0 and just draw 3 cards.
That's some pro level stuff.
Is that he has access to Rosetta Thorn, and that just makes him worse.
I was gonna save that for later, but yeah, Rosetta.
I think part of the Runeblade conversation, the whole deal, you cannot talk about Viserai and not talk about how great it is to have the equipment that he has at his disposal.
He has great
Yes.
equipment.
And I also think, like, of all the heroes, Runeblades have just ample options. They have the ripest pickings to choose from. Like, poor rangers and mechanologists are like, I'm gonna show up with this common armor and hope I survive. And meanwhile, Runeblades are like, I have a legendary in every slot, and I have 8 other legendaries I can choose from in those slots, but I'm choosing these 4. It's dumb.
They have
They're
a lot of options.
just fueled to be good, and other heroes are not getting the same fuel.
So we can talk. Let's break this down. We've already hinted at the weapons, so
My soapbox of the episode.
it's all right. You can get on that soapbox. We're gonna break it down. So we're gonna talk about the L that he has as weapon. Oh wait, it's not an L. It's a token.
Yep, Rosetta's cool.
Rosetta is
So
cool.
fair.
So Rosetta Thorn.
I don't cooler if it was an elemental Runeblade weapon.
Should be, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Rosetta Thorn, a lot of people were like, "Oh, that should be elemental. That should be eroded." But it is the key thing for anyone who has the name Runeblade in their card type, and that's deal 2 physical damage. If you've played a non-attack and an attack that turn, deal 2 arcane with it. So a lot of times you're coming in for 2 and 2. Oh, you've played Revel in Runeblood right before that, so you're probably going to come in for 2, 2, and 4, but because Viserai made another one, so 2, 2, and 5. And that's not counting if you have any others saved up, or if you played Mordred Tide that turn.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
It's gross.
Yeah, I don't like it.
And it is a token weapon. It is really good, and it makes Kayla really sad.
And it's 1 cost.
It's 1
Which, you know.
cost.
That's fair.
I mean, at the calling in Cincinnati, I faced a chain in CC who was running Rosetta Thorn, and I sat down. He like showed me chain. I was like, oh, I've played chains before. I I know the game plan on how to do this. And he flips over his weapons, Rosetta Thorn. I'm like, that's dumb. Why are you like this?
You just run it now. It's just so much better than ever. That is where what Runeblade was kind of lacking, was their weapons were kind of mediocre.
I gave them the band blade, and they were like, you know what? Let's make a second one, but this one's a token.
I forgot Duskblade existed. Shoot.
Yeah, Duskblade was gone before it even existed because they realized maybe we gave Runeblades too much stuff. Like,
We made a mistake.
That's a plate, Matt.
Yeah, it is.
We made a mistake. Duskblade.
I remember even seeing it in the spoilers. I'm like, this is gonna be busted as hell. Like, you can't. No.
Yeah. And then they released a spoiler, and I think like the next day they released an article that said, Duskblade, we made a mistake. No dip, Sherlock. How long did it take you to figure that out?
Oh, it's so bad.
Oh. Don't actually have one still.
So
I do.
Just to hit the space in the binder, don't have one.
Rosetta Thorn,
Yep.
not Duskblade, but it is good.
You run no other weapon.
You run nothing else.
No. I mean, it's literally, it's
And-
just, yeah, you could run Nebula Blade, and it's like, I think it can go to 3 on hit, make a rune chant.
It goes to 4. It's, I think, base
4.
1 and then plus 3, I think.
Yeah. But it's just the fact that 2 arcane from one source, that's requiring a 2 pitch. People aren't going to pay that. They may block the 2 physical, but they're going to take the 2 arcane.
Yep.
It adds up.
And it
And at
does.
just the end of the turn, you see it coming too. Like, you see the one resource, and they come up with something, costs 0, go again. Come up with something, costs 0, go again. You're like, next up's Rosetta Thorn. And like, yeah, Rosetta Thorn for 2 and 2.
2 and 2 and 18 maybe.
Wash,
So
rinse.
tired of hearing 2 and 2.
So moving on from weapons, because we all know the weapon is really good. The headpiece is something that's actually not Runeblade native, but you'll probably run it.
It's usually Skullcap.
It's usually
Usually
Skullcap.
You could make an argument for Ebonfold. Or actually, no, Crown of...
Ebonfold is Shadow.
Yep.
Ebonfold is Shadow, apologies.
It's Crown of Dichotomy is
That's
what
an
you
easy
run.
mistake to make.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
I forget that Shadow and Light are archetypes. All the time. Yeah, Crown of Dichotomy you can make an argument for it, I think, in some cases. Like, especially with Blitz, where you can just have the 11 equipment slots, you might as well just put it in there.
It really depends on how aggressive you want to be.
Yeah,
You can
it could be
do it.
very useful. But then again, if you're facing someone who does a lot of damage, it could maybe dominate. Like, if you're sitting across like a Guardian or a Brute who's going to intimidate things, like, having that block from Skullcap is probably more beneficial.
And they're probably going to do... Yeah. The chess piece is actually very interesting. So the thing about Skullcap is you kind of have to be lower life. So you'll notice at the start, Viserai will kind of take some damage. He can kind of use up that Skullcap piece a little bit. And then I'll see a lot of Viserai's like just use equipment. Like oh, okay, now I can just block with it. And you don't need to block from cards with hand, like, because they have tons of equipment that all has the keyword Battle Worn on it.
They're pretty tanky,
Yeah. They're
which is why they're powerful.
a lot of things just get a -1 counter, and they're at 2. At least 3 of the equipment pieces are. And great, now you're going to block at least 6 just off your head, chest, and arms alone. Which is crazy. But we'll talk about Bloodsheath Skelta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben loves this card. Ben, tell us
I
about
do like
Bloodsheath.
this card. Let's see. I believe it's an
it's a very
instant,
good-
right? It's not an action to use, it's an instant, I believe.
It's an instant.
Right?
Mhm.
Okay. So, but it reduces your next attack and non-attack by the number of rune chants you have. So if you have like 9 rune chants, pretty much the next 2 things you want to do are free. And when the biggest play you can do is with Sonata, where its cost is XX. Let's say you have like 20 rune chance. You can pop Bloodsheath and activate Sonata.
10.
Use that as the cost. Get X is equal to 10. Plus 3. Reveal 13 cards.
See, what you really want to do is make it an even number. So you're going to proc it for 19, because then it comes in. So is that how math works?
If you had 19 rune chance, it would be 9, because you would take the lowest X. And you'd have one floating.
Yeah. So it'd be
No,
9
you wouldn't have any floating.
Well, yeah.
It's
not the
9
right
plus 3, so
but-
it'd be 12. You just want the nice even number.
Sure. Regardless, but that's what enables kill turns in an OTK strategy at the very least.
Bloodsheath
Yes.
Skeleton
Then you
also has 2 defense and Battleborn.
Yep.
That's cool.
Fun card.
They could have balanced their equipment out by making them like temper or blade break.
Well,
But the fact that they gave them all really good equipment that just has Battleborn is just a little bit too much.
Bloodsheath actually
Bloodsheath is temper.
Yeah. I
But
said that wrong.
still.
It is temper. When it gets
It
to
is temper.
0. But you're still going to block with it once for 2.
Oh yeah, you block with it.
Block for 2. It's not like poor Lexi when she uses her new Horizon to not die.
Yeah, ranger equipment sucks for blocking.
Ranger equipment just sucks. In general.
Yeah, Bloodsheath is awesome.
Yeah. Bloodsheath is great.
Bloodsheath
And that
is-
is by the amount of rune chance you currently have.
Yes.
So that is going to go off of if you send all your rune chance away somehow, then it's still going to be 0. Or if you lose a rune chance, if you get that dreaded scour, or trying to
That's
think of
true. I mean, if you would have to be the luckiest wizard alive, but if someone was like, I've got 19 rune chance and I'm gonna instant pop Skeleta, you could instant scour, destroy all the rune chance on top of the stack. And then when that resolves and we get to Skeleta and there are no rune chance, they've just broken it for nothing.
It actually is kind of spicy.
That is spicy. I want it to happen now. Someone have that happen.
it happens.
Game,
If you
send me the video. I want to see it. I want to revel in that rune blood.
I played 2 Kanos in Indy, and that's the thing that both of them did. They're like, if I got a scour, I just kept it in Arsenal and waited.
Just waited.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just sat there, and then as soon as you do that, then I know to play scour. Or if you're going to send something lethal at me, like, you're going to do that big turn, like, well, okay, I'm going to make 10 rune chant damage come at you. Well, you know what? Why spend Arcane Barrier when I can just...
And now that's 10 arcane damage coming at you, my friend.
Yeah, no, and it feels bad.
It's the Scour is the Uno reverse card of Flesh and Blood. You're going to tell me that I'm wrong?
No.
Am I wrong?
Not in the slightest.
Not at all.
Exactly.
What's interesting, though, is a lot of cards that say reduced by the number of rune chance you control on the resources. Once a card is declared, you pay it's declared its cost. You technically, I think, paying that before the scour comes in or something like that. So if you lose rune chance, it's still decreased. So if you play Amplify the Arc Knight and someone comes in and destroys 6 rune chance, you're still playing that for free.
I think so.
Yeah.
Once it resolves, yeah.
So Bloodsheath Skeleta, we talked about fun things there. Talked about Skullcap, Crown of Dichotomy. The arms are probably this.
Are there any good chest equipments we would mention? Like honorable mentions?
I mean, Bloodsheath Skeleta is probably.
It's hard to beat.
It's not, it's not a token. It's not super common. However, it is pretty cheap to get in the grand scheme of things.
Where the big fridge.
I'm sorry?
Carrion Husk.
Shadow.
Well, that's Shadow.
That's why I said chain.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Please.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, you cut out. But
It might also be the fact that it's raining actually kind of hard here, and I think I'm scared the mic's actually been picking up some of it.
no, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, I cannot think of any
I mean,
common equipments that they have.
honestly, Deep Blue might just be like the best, like generic go-to. I'm like thinking hard, and it might be Deep Blue.
Is Aether Ironweave Shadow or is it Runeblade?
Oh, that's Runeblade. Right, that's Runeblade.
That's the Runeblade one I've been thinking of as
Yep.
far as like common Runeblade stuff.
Yeah, that one's actually pretty good.
It's
It's
not
Battle
bad,
Worn 1.
but if you have Blood Sheath, you might as well just be running that.
Yeah. I mean, Aether's actually pretty decent in its own right.
Can someone tell us what Aether Iron Reeve does?
Yeah, good question. I have to look that up 'cause I don't remember actually off the top of my head.
Here we go. Destroy it. So it's an action. Destroy Aether Iron Reeve. Gain 2 resources. Activate this ability only if you've played an attack action card and a non-attack action card this turn. Go again. And it has Battleborn. So the significance of that is if you have one card in hand, it's not going to give you the resources needed. But if you're going to pull off a chain of things,
Again, it kind of plays into the aggro fairly well.
Yeah. But again, if you have Skeletor, that's probably better for you.
Yeah, no, you run Skeletor.
The nice thing about Aether Iron Reeve above like Deep Blue or Heart and Cross Strap or something else is it's just you get 2 resources. It's not put a card at the bottom and get 2 resources or get 3.
Yeah, it's just get a flat 2 resources, which could pay for that Rosetta Thorn.
And it blocks 1 without breaking.
Yeah, and it still blocks 1.
Important.
So, moving on from the chest, there are 2 pieces of equipment I think that are very popular in the arms, and these are going to be the more majestic and L rarity. The first one you're going to see a lot more in constructed, and that is going to be Grasp the Arknight. And that is a picture of Sutcliffe grasping a Viserai, trying to hold on to him, but he just is too slippery. I'm just kidding.
He's a slippery boy. Actually, Grasp the Arknight talks about how Sutcliffe carved runes into Viserai's hands, which is where he holds the arcane energy when he makes rune chants. So those runes on his hands are actually where he keeps those rune chants.
Makes sense.
So Grasp the Arknight, you're actually using
He's
your little
actually-
arms.
He's grasping the little rune chants. He's like, ugh.
But yeah, so it costs 2 to make 1 rune chant token.
It does. It's expensive, and it costs more for every rune chant you control. So if you own 3 rune chants, it costs 6 to make, or 5 to make. That's
Maybe
math.
5, yeah.
It'd be 5. It costs 5 to make 1 rune chant, which is if you have 3 rune chants, you're probably fine. Just go with the 3.
You know, actually, there's
But-
sometimes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say it was blocks 2.
It does
Which is
block
always
for
important.
2
It blocks
with Battleborn.
That's why you play it, honestly, is the Battle Worn.
I mean, if it's like the beginning of the turn and you have no rune chants, and if you're like, man, if I could make a rune chant and then play this meet and greet, proc the rune chant, which could give the meet and greet go again.
I know, 100%.
Yeah, that's a really good turn, actually.
It's like over the course of the game, you probably get more value out of the block, though.
Or make a rune chant, play the shrill. What's it called?
Shrill Skull
the
Form?
name-
Skull form.
Skull Form. Yeah, you play Skull Form Shrill. It now gets the buff because you made a rune chant for 2.
Yep.
So there's one
So
other handy piece to it.
It has its moments.
Oh, it's definitely.
If you are someone that's looking for that big Sonata Arcanix turn and you want to watch your graveyard and make sure you have a decent amount of non-attacks and attacks, it can also be something good to just filter. Like, okay, these cards
It
are
is
going
a
to do
great
anything.
filter.
Yep. It's like, okay, I'm going to pitch these, make a rune chant, and then I can do whatever depending on your game plan. And all of a sudden you got 2 cards out of your hand. Maybe you got 1 card out of your hand. So I
It
think it's really good for
it
that.
it really is important, I think, for a lot of heroes to have that filter on standby. But not everyone gets that. Oh
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. You get a filter, it blocks with Battle Worn. There is another equipment that I think is more common in Blitz, and it has Arcane Barrier on it, so it's good to play against another Arcane hero. Does anyone have a
Here.
guess what that is?
Vexing Quill Hand.
Fixing.
Yes,
It's so much better than I thought it was going to be. It's so good.
Yeah, it surprised me with actually how good it is.
It's what enables like the god turn sometimes.
Yeah.
Like that's all they need is just a free 2 rune chance, and they're off to the races.
Well, you can also think about people who play Mordred Tide, and then they just break the Vexing Quill hand, so that gets another rune chant.
That'll give them 3.
And then they do read the runes with Go Again, which
I mean,
the leg equipment is how we're really gonna.
I'll say.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We'll get into that in a moment. But yeah, you can make a ton of rune chants, and all of a sudden, like, okay, I'm sending 30 damage at you. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yep.
It adds up real quick.
Really quick. But it's all.
But you
good.
know, so yeah, vexing or grasp, depending on just pretty much again how aggro or defensive you want to be. It's kind of matchup dependent.
The thing that makes Vexing as good as it is the fact that it doesn't cost a resource to make 2 rune chant tokens. So in a quick match, you get the value of 2 Grasp the Arknights for damage.
Basically.
However, you don't have to pay a resource for that. It doesn't block, so it's going to be a little bit more of an aggro card. Common equipments.
In the arm slot, that's actually tricky.
Goliath Gauntlet.
I mean, it does affect a decent amount of his stuff, I suppose.
There are a lot of Runeblade cards that do cost 2 more.
Yeah, just because on the idea that they should be reduced by rune chance, but they still have the inherent, well, like,
Yeah.
amplifies like
Cost is
what,
still
6 costs.
2. Yeah.
So yeah, Goliath would still affect. I mean, Goliath is a strong choice. Actually might be the best choice, really.
That's the only one I could think of other than if you know you're running a lot of reds.
Is it bracers?
Bracers of Belief, I think is what they're called, which is destroy, reveal the top card of your deck. Your attack action card gets +3 minus X, where X is the pitch value of the card you revealed.
I believe that's how it's worded.
Yeah, plus X attack, where X is 3 minus the pitch value of the card revealed this way.
Oh, plus X, where X is pitch minus. Okay. I just put the numbers in the wrong place. But my way actually sounded better.
But yeah, no, I like Goliath over that though. I think Goliath makes some sense if you need to go to a general spot
Yeah.
or a cheap option.
Yep. The last thing we'll talk about, I think that how do I say this? Moving on to the legs, I think there is a great legendary leg piece for them. However, I don't know if you need, like, I don't know if I would seek out Spellbound Creepers. So that is the L.
It's actually really, really good and can enable some super tricky plays.
Yep.
It is good. I think, like, in actually doing, and he's probably one of, like, the best rune blades to pull it off now. Just with where it's like, you must make so much arcane damage happen or the shoes will destroy themselves. And just his ability to make rune chants, and then if at the end of all that you just come in for the sword and you can deal that arcane damage with those rune chants, you can keep the boot.
Yep. And just so you know, it's a once per turn instant. Put a bind counter on Spellbound Creepers. You may play your next non-attack action card this turn as if it were an instant. Activate this ability only if you've attacked or defended with an attack action card this turn. So what is really key about that is you can play Read the Runes spell off of that as an instant, so it doesn't end your turn, and you keep those rune chants coming. It also has Blade Break, but Blade Break says when the combat chain closes. So
It's gone, yeah.
Yep. So you can defend with an attack action and the creepers, and then play a card at instant speed.
Yep, it's actually really, really good, especially in Blitz where, again, you're playing on aggro and you just want to throw damage a lot. It's like, okay, Swarming Loom Veil. Let's say you play a non-attack into a Swarming Loom Veil, and it's just like, okay, coming in for what? 4, go again, that's fine. And then at instant speed, you're like, nah, I'm going to play Rebel and Runeblood, create essentially 5 more rune chants. Now all modes on Spellbound or all modes on Swarming Gloom Veil is active, and you still have like a Rosetta and maybe more to go.
Yep.
It's terrifying. It is so scary.
The fact that you can play it at instant speed, which can be done on top of things, and you could think, oh, this isn't gonna be bad, and then they do something at instant speed, and you're like, this got bad really fast.
And it enables go again too. Like if you play Rattlebones,
I was thinking it more of as like it's basically a way to get an action point almost, in that if you attack with a card that doesn't have go again but instant in Spellbound Creepers and play your next non-attack as an instant, you can play something with go again and get that go again action point.
Yep.
Which
it's really good.
It's really good.
Like I don't know if you had the complete option. I don't know what you put instead of it. If you had all options in the world, I don't know what you put in front of it.
If you don't have Spellbound Creepers, I would say Mage Master Boots are going to be your closest to getting a non-attack action go again, or trying to get that action point that Spellbound Creepers is essentially giving you.
Essentially, Mage Masters your Snapdragons.
I was actually going to say Sutcliffe's Suede Hides.
I was just about to say I forgot about that one.
Sutcliffes only work for attack action cards, and you have to play a non-attack before it.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between that and Snapdragons is you're not pinned down to the 1 or less cost. But with a lot of Runeblood stuff having go again in some way, it's more of like the reduced or read the rune chants, which is an action card that doesn't have go again, but you would like to do more things on your turn. Mage Master Boots gives you that opportunity to do more stuff with those rune chant tokens.
I think it really just depends on what your overall game plan is.
Yeah.
I think if you wanted to end out like Sutcliffe's Suede Hides, if you wanted to do some things and end off with a big Rosetta turn, like, or if you wanted to play something else on that, I think Sutcliffe's Suede Hides, typically in the flow of things, it's a good option. I think Mage Master Boots is really good because you want to, like, there are a lot of non-attack actions, like read the runes, etc., that you want to, like, you want to play
read
those.
the runes in one turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just play it, make 3 rune chants, and you're done.
Yeah. Which is a strategy.
Yeah. That happens. So there are a lot of feat options. I personally think, how do I say this? I think Spellbound Creepers was definitely better. I think
it creeped up on how good it was.
I didn't realize how good it was when I first saw it. I didn't. I regret that. It's so good.
Lot of people was like, "There's no way you can do that much arcane damage to like keep. They're gonna be gone in 2 turns," and it's like,
at the time, Viserai wasn't really top of the meta like he is right now either. No one really considered it for Viserai. It was for Briar.
Yeah.
And Briar's like, it's not that crazy. And it's right. And Briar, I don't think Briar played it.
Well, when it first came out, I thought it was built for Chain, but they banned Seeds of Agony, so he couldn't get those turns of all that arcane damage. I was like, maybe it's not that worth it. Then Sting of Sorcery came out, and then I was like, oh, well, I guess you could have a place for it with a good Sting of Sorcery turn. But then Viserai came out of the darkness and said, hello, I am here with my boots.
Yeah, no. They're really good in Viserai.
I think personally, if I was looking at it, and feel free to disagree with me on this. If I was making the deck and I was looking at a budget thing, I would probably, because the skull cap you can get, it's $80 in Everfest, right? And you could still run Crown if you want to do that. If you're
Crown's
buying
reasonable.
singles. The chest piece, the skeleton is like $20-$30. I would get a skeleton.
It has gone up a little bit just because of popularity.
Oh, really?
I mean, I think it's gone up to like what you said, like $20-$30.
Vexing Quill Hand. I know the cold foil was up there, but I think it's dropped.
The regular is like $3.
Yeah. So, at least get a Vexing Quill Hand. I think with the boots are the one thing you have to decide on. If they're really expensive, they can enable some things. But yeah, I think there are a lot of common boot options.
I mean, there's like a $20 difference between cold foil and unlimited, and cold foil is $159. The rainbow foil is $139 for the Spellbound Creepers. They're expensive because of how good Viserai is with them.
Exactly.
Let's look up Blood Sheath.
Doing price checks right now. Price check on aisle 1.
I got a rainbow blood sheath when I first got into the game. It was great.
Where is it now?
In my Viserai OTK deck that is probably trash at this point. But it is what it is.
The normal non-foil is $27.
Yep.
Foil, you're looking at $35.
All right, sounds about right.
If you had a first edition cold foil Skeleton, that puppy is $640.
Whoa!
That sounds about right.
That sounds about right for anything from the first 3 sets. First edition is obnoxiously expensive for a good reason.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, all crazy things. So go ahead.
I was just jabbering.
That's all I do, all the time. So Viserai.
So how do we feel? How do we feel about the boy?
Yeah, how do we feel about Viserai?
I do love Viserai, but he's just so scary when he gets his god hand. Like when he gets his god hand, it's so hard to come back into the game.
I do play him some, so I shouldn't.
I love him to death. If I had like some of the tools that I would want to build him, I would, or have already built him. Like he's really fun to play, and he has a lot of options. Like, it's really easy to pivot into different play styles with him.
Yep.
So there's a reason he's top of the meta right now. He's one of the best guys out there. He's just really, really good and really fun to play.
And there's
part of that 3.
There's something to be said for like I'm looking at my hand, I'm thinking like I'm planning this out and be like, okay, I'm sending 17 damage at you. We're gonna block the arcane, or you're gonna block the physical, and that's gonna depend on what I do next. So.
Yep.
It's all
very fun.
It's scary. Cool. Well, that's Starvo.
Whoa.
Where did
that come from?
Oh man.
Starvo beats Viserai usually.
So they're talking about. Thanks for jumping in, guys.
Yeah, that's Viserai in a nutshell. And yeah, any final words on Viserai?
Purple boy, kick ass.
When I pulled my blood sheath, I tried to build for him, but I don't have the legendaries, and I learned pretty quickly that those are very important. So I kind of just dismantled him and sort of went away from Runeblade, just because without the really good stuff, it is hard to compete with some good decks.
Yeah, I think Viserai is probably someone who has. It's an easy cost to entry. However, the ceiling is high, so you can get into Viserai and you can do well with Viserai on a budget. But to really do well with Viserai, you're gonna drop some money.
He's probably a decent commenter deck.
Yeah, he is.
Oh yeah, it'd be expensive
for a commoner.
I mean, just like not the the card cost, not the cost of buying a common card. I meant the card cost itself in the game. Like a lot of his commons cost 2.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
What
What
you're
I
saying.
meant by it'd be expensive, as in
Uh,
a lot
I
of his
see it.
cards cost 2, and then. But we took it as we were just saying
Yeah.
it would be budget friendly, Kayla. What do you mean?
I know. It came off weird.
Sorry, I said that at the wrong timing of like it would be expensive, meaning the cost of his cards.
We're all loopy tonight. You can tell it.
Oh
Sweet.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So final thoughts wrapping up.
He's cool. Give him a shot.
All right.
Yeah.
Wrap this burrito up. Yeah, that's Viserai. Feel free to check him out. Let us know what you think of Viserai and how he currently is in the meta. Because I won't say anything. All right. I like Viserai.
86 hates it.
No, actually, I like Viserai.
I respect him.
Yes. You will respect his authority. All right. Thank you. See ya next week when we talk about the
We do the
last member.
Smash and pass.
Smash pass.
The last member of the Arcane Rising crew. And that
Smash.
would be Kano.
Can we do a smash and pass after?
All right. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.